So these are the tables we have created. And in inserting record into table, remember we have what is called the child table, the parent table. The parent table is the table that has its primary key in another table. So that table that has a primary key of another table where it becomes, that key becomes a foreign key, is a child table. So in inserting your record, in inserting record into table, you need to ensure that the parent table has the record first before it goes into the child's table. Let's say, for example, now we have students, where this is where students register or student details are being stored, and this student table is related to the payment table. So we cannot come and add a record to payment when the student does not exist. That you cannot have a payment record of student that does not exist. Even in real life scenario, such thing is not allowed. You cannot have a payment of somebody that it will look like a ghost payment, somebody that does not exist. Let's say this is student's ID. So, and that ID does not exist in the table. So it become invalid, or it will not accept it. So when you want to insert, you make sure you insert into the parent table first before you insert into the child's table. I don't know if that is understood. So I hope that is understood.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are going to start the insertion, or start inserting data from the parent table into the child's table. So let's look at the student table. So you can right click on the table and click on the query tool, or you right click on the database name, you click on the query tool. So whichever method you choose, it will work. So let me write this code, though we are not doing this now, but let me just write this student so that we can see. So you can see the columns. I just want us to have a preview of the columns on the table, on the student table. So you can see we have ID, first name, surname, sex, date of birth, address, and phone number. So for us to insert data now using SQL, the syntax is you have insert, you use the keyword insert into. So you now specify the table name. When you specify the table name, it follows with the, or let's say it follows with the field name. We have the ID, comma, first name. You must type it the way it appear in the table there. So first name, comma, surname, comma, you separate it with comma, sex, comma, date of birth, address, then comma, the last one is telephone. So you now specify values, or you can say value. So what are the values that what values are you inserting? You can open again. You put the ID. Let's say this is the first one. Now we can put 1. And anything that is not number or that is not, yes, a digit or integer, you need to put it in a string. Let's say the first name now, let's say the first name is John, let's say for example. So you need to put John in a string. A string means putting it in a single quotation. So let's say John, this person is John, the first name is John. So separated by comma, just like we did in the column name. So the next one is the surname, let's say Williams. So the next one now is gender. So let's say male. So we are putting the male now in quotation as a string, because it's not a number, it's not a digit, or it's not an integer. So after that date, or after gender, the next one is date of birth. So we can just use, we can specify, though the date of birth must also be in string, we must put it in quotation. So let's just say 1993. Let's put it like this: year, month, and day. Then after that is address, comma again. Then we put address. Let's just say addresses. Let's just make it short. Then let's say phone number. You have to put number also in quotation. We can just choose, let's say, something like this, for example. So these are the values. So every line of code ends in semicolon. So you at this point now, you run it. Let me highlight and run. So if there is any error, it will throw the error. If there is no error, we will now see the value being entered into the table. So let me run it. Let's see. So you see it has inserted query returned successfully in 2 seconds. That means there is no error. So that's how you insert into your table. So let's view the table again with this select, though we are not into select yet. So you can see the value here in the table. Now, this is the ID. This is the student ID now, is 1. So if you want to insert into payment ID now, or any other table now, we need to come and use this. Remember, this ID is what will be used, because this ID represents John Williams. It's an example. So you still need to make sure that this ID goes in like that. So if you look at, I don't know if this is understood. Look at the syntax. This is what we are going to do today. The syntax is first insert. The syntax is insert, that is the command, how you write the command, insert into. Then the table name. Then you open a bracket that contains the field names, the field or the column name. So you type the field names. Let's say field names. Separated by comma. Each field separated by comma. Each field. Each field separated by comma. I'm just trying to write a kind of syntax for it. Separated by comma. So let's say, then after you are done with that, you use a keyword values. So I brought the line down so that it will not make the code like breaking line, that it will not make the code too long, so that at least you can read it with ease. So here after that, now the next one is the values. This value now, like the word values imply, what are you, the data you are inserting into the table. So here contains data. Each data arranged in sequence of the field, separated by comma. So you, as you have listed the column's name serially, that's how you put the value serially. Then at the end of each line line of command, you put semicolon. So this side now contains the data you are to insert, and you arrange them according to how you have arranged the field name. Then when you run it, you can, like what we did now, we have the data inserted into this table. So if we are going to look at one of the child's table to the student table now, let's take for example, let's say payment. So we may not put into payment because we have not put program ID. Or if we have, maybe tomorrow, by God's grace, we will now list all the programs that we are going to use to have here, our sample program with their code, and insert them into the programs table, so that it will now enable us to populate the enrollment, the payments, and all those tables. So you see the enrollment table has student ID and program, then the session. So you have to, this program ID must be in the program table, else you will get error. So if that ID does not exist in the program table, you will get error. So I don't know if this is understood. Just 15 minutes. Is there any question? Do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay, one of us has to pray. Okay. So maybe we'll just make a list of our programs, even if it is one, and perform the insert. Let's say program number one, we'll have a database management. Just like a sample of database management, that's program number one. So we'll now put the code. The code will be, since we are doing relational database management system, it will have arrow D. Or we will also look at how do we specify program ID. Maybe we need to look at what is the data type for program ID, so that when we are forming the ID, we will also take cognizance of the ID, the field type before we form ID. So let me run this one so that we can see the programs table to give us an idea of the program ID. If it is integer, so the program name, duration, cost, the ID, which is the primary key, is an integer, so we are going to use, so we can just give it number 1 as the ID, no abbreviation. We can rather add this abbreviation to be part of the name, database management. So which means relational database management system. So we'll now say, let's say now the second one is web development. I'm just listing out the program so that we'll now use this one now to, let me put it as a comment since it's not a code. Web development. So the next one now, let's say we'll have data analysis. Or data analytics. So we have these 3 programs now. So we need to insert these 3 programs into the program table. So what should be the cost of this one? Let's say duration, 3 months. So in month, duration is in months, so we'll put 3. So what is the cost? We can say this one is, let's take for example, let's say this one is 10. We'll put 10,000. It's an example. Then this one, what is the duration? Let's say web development, let's say this one is 4 months, or let's say 6 months. So then the cost, let's say this one is 20. Because in doing web development, you need to do even the database, part of the database. So in the data analytics, let's say this one is 5 months. So it's in giving a number. Then let's say this one is 15,000. Because in learning data analytics, sometimes you need to learn also database or data analysis. And there are other tools you need to learn. So let's give it 5 months and a little bit costs higher than other. So these are the programs we have. So we need to insert this into the programs table. So remember the syntax we wrote is insert into. Then the field name. The field name separated with comma. So the first program there the first program we have there is the, okay, let me list the column name first. The column name, then the field, the column name first. The first one is ID. The next one is program name. Then the next one is duration, separated by comma. The last one is cost. So the next keyword now is the value. Which value are you inserting? Values. We'll open bracket again. So since the first program there is database management and the ID we have assigned to it there is 1. So we'll type 1 separated by comma. Then the name, instead of typing again, let me just copy. Remember, this is string. So we need to put it in quotation. Then separate by comma. Only integer you don't put in quotation. So we use 6. We just type 6 because it's an integer. If you look at it, integer. So the cost is 10,000. So we just type 10,000. So every command ends with semicolon. So we will now run this code and see if there is any error, or if there is none, it will be, the data will be inserted. So let me copy in case it disappears. So I will highlight it. Since there are other code there, I don't want to run every code. I will just highlight this and run only that. Only the highlighted code will run or will be executed. So you see there is a syntax error. Insert into, we did not specify the table name. Sometimes what you have to have in mind to type is different from what you have typed. So the table name is programs. So that you need to, the good thing is that when you have error, you should know where the error is coming. So I left it when I discovered that I have not typed the table name. I said let me still run it so that we'll see how we can look at error. So the error is coming in close to this bracket. You see syntax error at or near. So which, if you now check the error, where is this bracket open, and it's even showing the line number. This will help you now to guide, this will guide you to troubleshoot your code. So it's on line 1. So this is line 1 because it's not seeing all this other code. It's just seeing this code as 2-line code because I highlighted only these 2. So I will now come to line 1 where there is insert into. Then there is an error here where you see that sign here. So I will now come down. Okay, now I did not put the program, the table name. So where are we inserting into? Inserting into the table. Remember, look at our syntax here. You need to put the table name. So I have put the table name there. I will now run the code again and see. So you see it has run successfully now. So when you run a code and you run into a problem, I just did that deliberately so that we will now see. Even when I mistakenly missed the table name, I saw it, but I said, okay, let me just continue and see so that we will now see how we can debug our code when we have code and they are running or that they refuse to run because of error. We will know how to start troubleshooting. So if we run this one at the top that help us to view record, this is a select command that help us to see what is in the table. So you see select star from program. So we are still coming to this. So this is it. That record has been inserted successfully. So the next one now, we are going to, let me just leave that one. Let's type again so that we'll get used to it. Since this is the first time we are taking this. So we are inserting we have 3 records to insert. So let's do the next one again. Insert into. Where are we inserting it into? A table. What is a table name? Programs. So after that, we open a bracket and close. Immediately you just click open. System automatically closes it for you, so long as you're typing it here. So they will list the field name or the column name separated by comma. We have how many columns? 4 columns or field. Column or field, it can be used interchangeably. After ID, we have programs. The program name must be written the way it's appearing, comma. The next one is duration, separated by comma. The next one is cost. So followed by the keyword values. So let's begin a new line. Let's start that one from a new line. Even if you write it on a straight line, no problem. But I just want to break the line so that it will be much more better. So values, you open bracket again. So these are the things these are the things we want to insert into the table now. The next one is web development. So the ID there is 2. The program name there is what? Web development. So this one is not part of the code, as in it's just value or data. So let me copy. So I will paste it. Then separated by comma. The next thing is the duration. The duration is, sorry, here we put 3 months for that one, but I mistakenly entered 6 there. But let's just continue. The idea is how we can insert data into the table. So we are going, the next one is to put the duration now. The duration is 6. Since it's an integer, we'll not put it in quotation. The next one is the cost, which we have said is 20,000. So that one is number. So we are not putting it in quotation. So that's all. We separate. We end the command line by this semicolon. So we'll now run it again. If there is any issue, we will see it. So it runs successfully, no issue. So the basic thing you need to understand after understanding the syntax for insert is that for tables or in a database where you have multiple tables that are related, when we finish creating the table, we created a relationship. You need to insert data. That's why you need to understand the structure of your table, which we have done. Which table is the parent table, which one is the child table. So maybe in our next class, I will also emphasize on this child and parent table. So you need to start inserting values into your table, starting from the child's table. Starting from the parent's table before the child's table. Like the student and the program table, they are the parent table because they don't contain any foreign key, but they have their primary key present in other tables. So they are the parent table. So you need to start inserting from them. So now that we have programs inserted in the program table, we can now insert into enrollment or into any other table, because at least we have data there. And not just having data there, it must be the ID that is found in this table, in the parent table, must be the ID that you are going to put in the child's table, else the system will not know that these two data are related. And once they are not related by this no ID value, it will tell you that record does not exist and cannot be in the child's table. The record does not exist in the parent table or something. It will give you some error like that. So these are the basic things you need to understand. So we are going to look at this. This is the first time we are taking this. So
Hello, I have a question, please. Can you hear me?
yes, if you have questions.
All right, regarding this insert,
Hello.
can you hear me, please? Hello, can you hear me?